Bud Dupree, we've been waiting weeks now at this point for Bud Dupree to sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers. At this point, still nothing. Came in for a visit. No contract was even negotiated, according to Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac. And as of today, 10:55 in the morning on Monday, there's still no deal done. Over the weekend, I don't know if you watched the Arthur Moats experience, but he went on a little bit of a tangent saying, I don't know if Bud should sign here. Like, he's still got gas left in the tank. Why would you take a hometown discount to return to Pittsburgh and play behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and kind of just like finish out your career on a coast? Yeah, it kind of put in my head, maybe Bud Dupree isn't as into the Pittsburgh Steelers and playing a small role at just 30 years old as the fans want him to be. And maybe that's why there's no deal done. Do you have any worries? Do you have any thoughts on what's now approaching week 3 of Bud Dupree watch?
Well, I think it's important to remember he just came in for a visit, and according to our friends Jerry Dulac and them at the Post-Gazette, there was no money talked. It was just, hey, physical, how you doing? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, remember what the locker room looked like?
right. Like probably like, hey, buddy, good to see you again and see how you doing.
TJ Watt was standing at the door. No doubt TJ Watt was standing at the door.
But see, here's the thing is that I think the Steelers are in a position where they don't necessarily need Bud Dupree. It'd be great to have him because he'd be the third option. And I think Bud Dupree doesn't necessarily need the Steelers. He could probably find another NFL team. But if I'm Bud Dupree, I just got a big contract. It didn't work out. As far as showing high production for the Titans. So now teams are going to be wary about him, but the team that will trust him and give him a lot of playing time and not, he knows we'll give him a good shot to play coming off the bench and be the top option off the bench is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it makes a lot of sense to go get that guy. And for him to say, you know what, unless he, and this could be what's happening here. The Steelers could be waiting to see, hey, what's the number? This is the number that we'd like to agree to, but he still feels like he can get this number that's much higher out there from a team. The Steelers are gonna be like, hey, Bud, we're not trying to cut your money. Go and get the contract you think you're gonna get. But we telling you, you always got us right here. If you want this, because we'd like to have you back. I think that's what's going on right now. Is that Bud Dupree is probably looking for the bigger deal, and he's looking for the opportunity, and that's where he's going to be. That's what's going to be really interesting to see is does another team pay him like that? If they don't, then I think, he's like, you know what, Steelers, let's pay on this short-term contract. Let's see how this does. And if he blows up, say he has a 6-sack season as the third guy off the bench, and then everyone's like, wow, is he back? Maybe. And then next year his free agency money goes up, and he that works out, and the Steelers can, kind of like, they're both like, hey, good business with you. He had a great year back. We're going to move forward there. But I think that's what's going on here. Plus, we also don't know how this physical went. I think the Steelers, they've shown they're willing to take guys who are still recovering if they think they're really good, like Larry Ogunjobi. We saw that last year. But I don't think it's a guarantee that that both sides have necessarily moved on at this point. I think everyone's kind of just seeing how things continue to play out because all teams are thinking right now what they want to get. This may even wait until after the draft for, who drafts what edge rushers across the league. And then everyone's like, all right, now it's time to make that mad scramble for all the free agents that are out there. So still, everyone needs to be patient, but eventually I think that the opportunity will come. And I do think the Steelers will eventually, I don't see another team making a big play for Bud Dupree. And I think that he will end up talking with them and being like, all right, I'll agree to this deal and this will work. Maybe for a year, maybe 2 if they're lucky.
Yeah, I see the same thing. I see it one of 2 ways, just like you said. It's either something went wrong with the physical and they're a little bit weary and, they just want to hold back and, really talk to their doctors, or just like you said, Bud Dupree was very open and honest. And I'm sure that Omar and Mike and everybody was open and honest too. I'm 30 years old. I have minimum time left in the NFL. I would like to make as much money as possible. I was supposed to make $20 million this year. That didn't happen. I would like to make more than, a number that people are tossing out is like $3.5 million to sign with the Steelers. Would like to make more than that. I still think that it's a risk for his part to return to the Steelers. Just 6 sacks coming off the bench. Yeah, that looks amazing. And in the NFL, it's forgive and forget. If you have one good year, it does not matter what you did before that. You will get paid in this league. If he comes in here and he doesn't do anything, he's going to end up finishing his career in Pittsburgh, making minimum money, playing minimum snaps. I don't know if that's what he's looking for. Former first-round pick.
I hear that. Yeah.
you were the one that kind of tossed this whole thing. Yeah, I think you were the founder of the Bud Dupree train.
I will happily take that.
You
that
did.
flag.
You did. I remember you saying there's a name, there's a sneaky name. And I was like, oh, who is this? Bud Dupree. Made total sense. You said you talked numbers way back then. I think the number was like under $10 million. I think it's shrunk since then.
Even under 8.
Yeah.
I think a solid contract would be 4 to 5, maybe $6 million for a single year contract, and be like, hey, bud, here's you're making good money. He's still got some guaranteed money from Tennessee. Like he still has.
It's like $13 million or something that he's gonna get paid either way.
Exactly. So like he's making money right now. I think, but again, I think Bud's looking around like, if someone's willing to pay me $10 million, I ain't going to turn that down just to come back to Pittsburgh because I love them. I want to get paid. This is the time of his career. It's also, I think it's important to remember too, Bud Dupree, when you look at his career, this is the time for him to get paid. This is what he stayed in Pittsburgh for so long to do. When you go back over his contracts, he was there from 2015 to 2020, and then he had 2 years with the Titans. Bud Dupree now, he's what,
29. He'll be 30 soon. If he's
no, I think he is 30.
I think he is 30. He just
turned 30. So this is the time when edge rushers, they start to get their last big deals, unless they're like, the guy like Frank Clark or guys that stick around and they keep getting, paid when they're 35, 36 years old. They just come back for big 1-year deals out of like, Dwight Freed and those like guys. But like, I think that Bud Dupree is in a position where he says like, look, I only got a couple more years to even do this. So that's why he might also be hesitating. You know what? At 30, do I want to take a 1-year deal? And so I agree. Like, it's not a slam dunk thing. It was just something I was like, just like how I called Miles Jack before a lot of people did last year too, because I just looked at the money. I was like, man, there's no way the Jaguars are going to pay him that deal. He'd be a really interesting fit for what the Steelers need right now in free agency. And then it just so happened to work that way. And it doesn't always work that way. When I was looking, I was like, this looks like an interesting cut and sign option here. And when I looked around the NFL, I was like, Bud Dupree made the most sense as far as this year's cut and sign option. I was like, he has 4 sacks in 2 years. No way the Titans are going to keep paying him the money that they're paying him. He's going to be gone. And of course, the Steelers, they need a third edge rusher. They have that relationship with Bud Dupree. They love Bud Dupree. He's always professed respect and love for them. It just makes too much sense. Doesn't guarantee it's going to happen. I'm just saying that things are lining up there. So again, not a guarantee on my part, just more of like I think these things line up pretty well as an opportunity for both sides. But again, we'll see. Maybe Bud gets a big contract somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's still a waiting game. I like your perspective. I think the NFL draft is a very good point to say this is milestone 1. If it doesn't happen before it, don't rule it out that it's going to happen afterwards, because just like I think there's a couple of guys right now. Miles Boykin, I think, is on that list. I think Benny Snell Jr. might be on that list of guys that they bring back after the draft if they're not able to add, if somebody doesn't fall to them. They're not going to be positions that they target, but if nobody falls to them and they don't get an outside wide receiver who could play special teams in the 7th round, well, hello, Miles Boykin. Welcome back to the team. If they don't get an outside linebacker, hello, Bud Dupree, unless he gets paid somewhere else. And I think that's a waiting game that is very interesting to watch.